Perugia, a timeless city nestled amidst the rolling hills of Umbria, Italy. Ancient Etruscan walls embraced its heart, whispering tales of centuries past. Sunlight bathed the cobblestone streets in a warm glow. It was a place of serene beauty where time seemed to move at a slower, more deliberate pace. Students from all over the world flocked to Perugia, drawn by its rich history and vibrant culture. They came to immerse themselves in the Italian way of life, to learn the language, to savor the exquisite cuisine, to experience the warmth of the Italian people. Little did anyone know a storm was brewing. A darkness was about to descend upon this idyllic city. It would shatter the tranquility and leave an indelible mark on its soul. The apartment at Via della Pergola 7 was shrouded in an eerie silence. The kind of silence that makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, as if the very walls were holding their breath, waiting for the inevitable discovery. It was November 2nd, 2007, a date that would forever be etched into the annals of crime history. A day that started like any other but ended in tragedy. A chill permeated the air, seeping into the very stones of the building. The cold seemed almost sentient, wrapping itself around the structure as if trying to preserve the dark secrets hidden within. Inside, the scene was chaotic. Furniture overturned, clothes strewn about. It was as if a violent storm had swept through, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. The disarray told a story of struggle, of a life interrupted. A single window stood ajar, as if an intruder had used it to make their escape. The slight breeze that entered through it seemed to carry whispers of the horrors that had transpired. Panic hung heavy in the air, a palpable presence that sent shivers down the spines of the first responders. Their faces, etched with concern, mirrored the gravity of the situation. The Carabinieri, Italy's military police, moved cautiously through the apartment. Each step they took was measured, every movement deliberate, as if they were navigating a minefield. Their faces were grim, their eyes scanning every inch of the disarrayed rooms. They were trained for this, yet the weight of what they were about to uncover was almost too much to bear. They had seen their share of tragedies, but this one was different. There was an air of malevolence that clung to the scene, a darkness that seemed to seep into their very souls. The bedroom door was ajar, revealing a scene that made even the most seasoned officers wince. The room was a tableau of horror, a snapshot of violence frozen in time. The victim, a young British student named Meredith Kercher, lay sprawled on the floor. Her body, once full of life and promise, now lay lifeless, a stark contrast to the vibrant person she once was. Her lifeless eyes stared vacantly at the ceiling. They seemed to be searching for answers, for a reason why her life had been so brutally cut short. Her once vibrant face was now pale and contorted in a silent scream. The terror she must have felt in her final moments was etched into her features, a haunting reminder of the brutality she endured. The brutality of the attack was evident. The room bore the scars of a violent struggle, a testament to the ferocity of the assault. A single stab wound marred her neck, a crimson stain blooming on the bed sheets beneath her. The wound was precise, deliberate, a chilling indication of the killer's intent. The air was thick with the metallic scent of blood, a gruesome testament to the violence that had unfolded within those walls. It was a scent that would linger in the minds of those present long after they had left the scene. As the Carabinieri secured the scene, a sense of urgency descended upon the investigation. Every second counted. The clock was ticking, and they knew that any delay could mean the difference between justice and injustice. Every piece of evidence, no matter how small, could hold the key to unlocking the mystery surrounding Meredith's death. The forensic team worked meticulously, their eyes trained to spot even the most minute details. Forensic teams meticulously combed through the apartment, searching for fingerprints, DNA traces, anything that could lead them to the perpetrator. Each discovery, no matter how insignificant it seemed, was a potential clue. The weight of the task pressed down on them. They were not just collecting evidence, they were piecing together the final moments of a young woman's life. They knew that the world was watching, waiting for answers. The pressure was immense, but they were determined to find the truth. News of the murder spread like wildfire through the quiet streets of Perugia. The city, known for its serene beauty and academic prestige, was now the epicenter of a horrific crime. The tranquility of the city was shattered, replaced by a wave of shock and disbelief. Students who had come to Perugia seeking knowledge and adventure now found themselves gripped by fear. Students, once drawn to Perugia's charm and beauty, now huddled together in fear. The sense of community that had once been a source of comfort was now tinged with suspicion and unease. Parents desperately tried to reach their children, their hearts pounding with a mixture of anxiety and dread. The thought of their loved ones being in danger was almost too much to bear. The image of Meredith, a young woman with her whole life ahead of her, cut down in her prime, seared itself into the minds of everyone who heard the news. Her smile, once a beacon of joy, was now a haunting reminder of what had been lost. The question on everyone's lips was a simple yet chilling one. Who could have committed such a horrific act? The search for answers had begun, and the journey to uncover the truth would be long and arduous. Meredith Kercher, known affectionately as Mez to her loved ones, was a bright, vivacious young woman. Hailing from Coulsdon, England, she had come to Perugia to embrace life, to experience a new culture. Her infectious laughter and warm smile had a way of lighting up a room. She had been studying at the University for Foreigners, eager to immerse herself in the Italian language and culture. Her friends described her as a free spirit, someone who embraced life with open arms. Now, her life had been tragically cut short, leaving behind a void that could never be filled. Amanda Knox, a 20-year-old American student from Seattle, Washington, was Meredith's roommate. She had come to Perugia with the same thirst for adventure and cultural immersion as Meredith. Known for her bubbly personality and outgoing nature, she quickly became a familiar face in the local community. Her love for the Italian language and her eagerness to experience all that Perugia had to offer made her a popular figure among both locals and fellow students. However, in the wake of Meredith's murder, Amanda would find herself thrust into the center of a storm. Her life irrevocably intertwined with the tragedy. Raphael Cito, a 23-year-old Italian student from Giovinazzo, Italy, was Amanda's boyfriend. Described as quiet and introspective, he was studying computer science at the University of Perugia. He had met Amanda at a classical music concert just a week before the murder. Their whirlwind romance, set against the backdrop of Perugia's ancient streets, seemed like a scene straight out of a movie. But their love story would soon be overshadowed by the dark cloud of suspicion that descended upon them in the aftermath of Meredith's death. Rudy Guide, a 20-year-old drifter originally from the Ivory Coast, had been raised in Perugia. He was known to frequent the basketball court near Meredith's apartment. His troubled past and history of petty crime quickly made him a person of interest in the investigation. Guide's presence in Perugia was a stark contrast to the lives of the students who flocked to the city. While they came seeking knowledge and adventure, he was adrift, searching for a sense of belonging that seemed to elude him. The investigation into Meredith Kercher's murder was a tangled web from the start. The Carabinieri faced a scene littered with clues, but making sense of it all was proving to be a daunting task. The apartment, a place where Meredith should have felt safe, was now a chaotic tableau of forensic markers and evidence bags. Every surface seemed to whisper a story, but which whispers held the truth? Time was of the essence, and the pressure to find answers mounted with each passing hour. The initial focus of the investigation centered around Rudy Guide. His fingerprints were found at the scene, and his DNA was discovered on Meredith's body and on a bloody handprint on her pillow. Guide had fled Italy shortly after the murder, further deepening suspicions about his involvement. He was eventually apprehended in Germany and extradited back to Italy to face charges. His flight from justice painted a damning picture, but was he the sole perpetrator, or were others involved? As the investigation progressed, attention turned to Amanda Knox and Raphael Cito. Their behavior in the days following the murder raised red flags among investigators. Inconsistent statements and what some perceived as a lack of appropriate grief fueled suspicions. Amanda, in particular, became a lightning rod for media scrutiny. Her demeanor, often described as detached and unemotional, was deemed suspicious by some. The prosecution would later argue that this was evidence of her guilt, while her defense team maintained that it was simply her way of coping with unimaginable trauma. The investigation was further complicated by the language barrier between the Italian authorities and the American and British suspects and witnesses. Misinterpretations and cultural differences added layers of complexity to an already convoluted case. The Italian legal system, with its inquisitorial approach, differed significantly from the adversarial system familiar to Amanda and her family. This clash of legal cultures would become a recurring theme throughout the trials, adding another layer of difficulty to an already emotionally charged and legally complex case.